Coming up, I encounter a lot of lift bridges on my way into Oxford and a number of locks. I get a bit of a shock as I cruise through my old neighbourhood in Oxford. I make a complete hash of getting onto the River Thames. I encounter some extremely low bridges on the River Thames. And I get pulled over cruising down the Thames through Oxford. Okay, welcome to day 3 of the cruise down to Henley. Just leaving the village of Thrupp. Had a very pleasant night just mooring there. Very nice indeed. This morning did toilets, filled up with water, got rid of rubbish, just so that when I get into Oxford I don't have to do all those things. Took me a bit of time. Plan today is to head down to Oxford, and I may or may not go onto the Thames, I don't know. I'm thinking of mooring up before I get into Oxford. Last night I popped round to the 2 local pubs, very nice. There's one just at the end of the road here. Went in there, very pleasant, and then there's the, I think it's the Jolly Boatman a bit further down. So anyway, day 3, let's see how far we get today. Oh, first boat of the day coming up. Haven't seen many boats going in the opposite direction, so it's almost a novelty to have to pass one. Of course, they would appear right on the bend and right next to a moored boat. Oh, I think they're holding back, that's good. Thank you. Anyone spotted what I forgot to do this morning? I forgot to put my life jacket on. I'll do that at the first lock. And of course, just where I didn't want to meet the second boat of the day, I've met the second boat of the day. Incredibly narrow through here, boats moored up. There's really only room for one boat to come through. I think we're going to get around this. This is going to be tight. This is going to be very, very tight. Oh! Cheers, thank you. Almost got through there without playing bumper cars, but they say narrowboating is a contact sport, so there you go. Oh, that doesn't look very good there. That was somebody's pride and joy once. Now look at it. That's really sad to see. Wow. Yep. Don't think there's much hope for that. Okay, just coming up to my first lock of the day. Time to put my life jacket on. Right, first lock of the day done. That was a Roundham lock. Right, another 3 or 4 locks to do today. 3, I think, more. Well, that's lock 43 done, Kiddington Green lock, and the excitement is I get to turn the page in a Nicholson guide. In fact, I get to turn 2 pages, and I'm now on the Oxford page, and I can see the River Thames on it, so we're getting there. Okay, got my first lift bridge of the day coming up. Bridge 231. It's actually closed, I'm going to have to operate it. This is Drinkwater's lift bridge just north of Oxford. Good grief, who are they trying to kid that that's 20 or 30 turns? Wow, you get some work out doing these bridges and locks on your own. So that's bridge 231, Drinkwater's Bridge. Oh no, it's going to knock my funnel down again, is it? Number of times I've knocked that funnel down, it's not funny. Oh, now it's going to take out the camera. No. Okay, reverse up here, go and lower the bridge. What fun. Well, at least lowering it was easier than raising it, and of course somebody had to come along in a car coming out their place just as I got the bridge raised. Right, down on into Oxford. Now this is rather odd, there appears to be a lock ahead and yet I'm not seeing anything in the book. Very odd, this is unexpected. Yeah, don't know what quite to make of this. I found it in the book. This is Duke's Cut Lock. In fact, there's a little sort of circly insert zooming in on this area. So when you look at the canal plan as such, you can't see it. You have to look into the little zoomed in area and then you can see it. Oh. Contact that side and that side, not good. Okay, and so that's me into Duke's Cut Lock. Straight after it we've got Duke's Cut Junction, where I believe I can turn right onto the Thames if I want to, but I'm going to continue on down into Oxford. Cheers, thanks, have a good one. Okay, so that's Duke's Lock's done, and apparently if I turn right here I can go down onto the Thames, and there's less locks to do that way, but I think I'm going to carry on into Oxford because that's always my original plan. I didn't actually know Duke's Cut was open. Last I heard, I thought it was still closed, but there you go. So there it is, off to the right there. Oh great, we've got another lift bridge coming up. No doubt this will be another 20 or 30 turns, which is more like 40 or 60. Actually, that turned out to be exactly 30 turns. Just feels like a lot more. Oh, contact with the bridge again. Oh, big contact with the bridge. Don't know where I hit there. Blimey. Oh, am I going to have the exhaust down again? No, just missed it. Phew! That was close. I can now see why they've got all these sort of buffering planks and everything around this bridge. Quite tough, tight down through there. Good grief, another lift bridge. I should have taken the advice of that person I saw at the last lock. Gone down Duke's Cut onto the Thames. We've had all these lift bridges then. Getting a bit too hot to be doing lift bridges. Well, that was a change to the usual. This one actually needed a key. Really should study the maps more and work out how many of these things I've got to do. Is this one going to take out my exhaust? No, just made it. Right, now to moor up and go back and lower the bridge. And I even remembered to pick up the key. Brilliant. Right, onwards. Well, that was Wolvercut Lock, and if I'm reading my map correctly, there's only one more lock to do after this one, and that is a lock that takes me onto the Thames. Exciting stuff. I wonder if there's any more lift bridges. I can't see any lift. Oh yes, there are some lift bridges. I don't know if they're. I guess I'm going to have to operate those. So the disadvantage of coming down through the centre of Oxford is locks and, well, a couple of locks and some lift bridges. Well, keeps me busy, I guess. Well, that's worrying. I've just passed my first lock of visitors' moorings and it was completely full. So I'm now heading down further into Oxford. I really didn't want to go in too far. I wanted to sort of just moor up, get some lunch, make a few calls and do a few odds and ends, and then possibly go onto the Thames later this afternoon. But I may have to go onto the Thames now if I can't find somewhere to moor up soon. Running out of canal. Well, I'm really getting down towards the centre of Oxford now. In fact, this bridge that I'm passing under here, I used to live in a house just over there. I worked in Oxford for 3 years back in the 1980s and I lived on that road there, Walton Well Road, so I know this area really well. This in here used to be Lucy's, I think. I'm pretty sure it used to be Lucy's, which was a sort of foundry, and now it looks like it's a luxury flat. I haven't been here for years. I came here about 2 or 3 years ago when I was walking the Thames Path, but I actually haven't been really back here on that bridge at all, which is Bridge 242. Yep, that's the bridge. For ages. Wow, it's amazing to see real sort of gentrification of the area, because this, as I say, used to be a foundry here. It used to belch out all kinds of nasty smells and black powder and dust. I mean, our house was backed onto the factory, which was just up there. I shared it with 4 other people. It was constantly filthy with this sort of black fine powder. So yeah, wow. Lucy's is no more. You might see Lucy's stuff around still. If you look around on sort of by sides of roads, railway tracks, if you see a little sort of grey box with Lucy written on it, that's where it was made, here in Oxford. Wow, look at it. It is absolutely amazing. All these flats in here. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, we've got one more bridge after this. This is 242. There's a footbridge coming up down here, and I think there's some moorings a little bit further down beyond the footbridge, but if I can't moor up there, then I'm really stuck. I'm going to have to go onto the Thames. I can see a narrowboat ahead moored up, so hopefully there'll be some moorings down there where I can sneak in, grab lunch, make a few calls, etc. But no, absolutely blown away by this here, all along here. This used to be, I remember walking this canal path years ago, back in the 80s, and all this used to be sort of semi-derelict sort of canal side buildings. As I say, Lucy's factory and everything in there. Now look at it. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now down here, this is Jericho on the left here, and there used to be a boatyard in Jericho, as I remember. I think it featured in an episode of Morse. Anyway, that's the first place I ever looked at a narrowboat. I was thinking about buying a narrowboat. This was back in the mid to late 80s to live on in Oxford, and I couldn't raise the funds basically. But as I said, that was my first sort of look at narrowboats and thinking about narrowboats in general. And then it took me, what, nearly 40 years before I got one. But I did at least have a look at one then. I think it was just down here on the left, if I remember. Hopefully I'm going to find somewhere to moor up down here. Now I'm pretty sure that this is the boatyard on the left here. Seems to be about the right place. Yeah, I'm sure this was where the boatyard used to be. Now I don't know if I can moor in that space up there by that green one. If I could, that would be very, very handy. There's be a bunch of hire boats here. I'm going to see if I can moor up here. Bank doesn't look very good though. Okay, I've grabbed a quick lunch and I've decided that I'm going to go on to the Thames. It seems pointless to have spent the last, I don't know, 2 and a bit days pushing to try and get down to Henley, and then to squander the time that I've gained through cruising in that heat, just squander it sitting around in Oxford. So I'm heading on to the Thames. I've just dug out the anchor, which was in the bottom of the boatsman's cabin, and I've tied that up at the front, sorted it all out. So worst does come to the worst, I won't get swept away by the current. I'm chucking anchor over the side. Anyway, let's get down here and see if we can get onto the Thames. Okay, so here we go under bridge 243. We're leaving the Oxford Canal, going into the Isis Lock and then onto the River Thames. Very exciting. Cheers, thanks for opening the gate. That's it, this is me exiting Isis Lock on the Oxford Canal and heading onto the Thames. Very exciting. Looking forward to this. Just need to remember to turn left. Although to start with I've got to turn right and double back on myself to get up towards the river. Okay, going by that sign as I left Isis Lock, I've got to double back on myself here onto the river. Quite a tight turn this. Okay, I think we've made it around. And off we go. Now, going into that lock, chap warned me that there's some low bridges down here, so no doubt the exhaust's going to get a clout again, which is annoying. But we just have to see how it goes. Wow, I've not seen a bridge like that before. It's a sort of railway swing bridge. Very odd. Amazing. Okay, I'm guessing here it's around to the left. Yep, it is. Well, made a bit of a hash of that coming out of the Thames. Didn't turn fast enough as I came underneath that bridge, caught it unawares. Welcome to the River Thames. And off we go. Now, I know most of this area. Well, I've walked the path here. I've been walking the Thames Path now on and off for about the last 4 or 5 years. I walked through here, well, must have been a good couple of years ago. Osney Bridge, danger, low bridge. Really? They've got no idea what a low bridge is. They should try some of the ones on the canals. Actually, this is lower than I was expecting. I might lose exhaust on this one. Whoa! Actually, that was lower than I was expecting. Woo! Yep, we're now on the river. We've got signs pointing us to various locks, and we also get danger signs for the weirs. All a bit different from being on the canals. It is nice though to be on the river. I'm enjoying this. Okay, it's many years since I last went through a river lock. Must be good, well, 40 years I guess, possibly even more. So this is going to take a bit of thinking about how we do this. Could prove interesting. Got the lay-by coming up here, for more up at. That operate the lock. Don't know if these are manned or not. And of course, I've also now got stream to contend with, which makes things a little bit different, to say the least. Okay, so this is my first lock on the River Thames. This one's manned. Doesn't help when you've got Lockie watching. Do you want engines off? Okay, thanks. Hurry up. There you go, thank you. Well, that's my first look on the River Thames done. Funny being back in one of those locks again after all these years. I remember this strange house and this bridge from when I lived in Oxford many years ago. And just after it, we've got the head of the river pub, if I remember correctly. Oh, it's stand correctly. Where's the pub there? Sure that was the pub there. Ah, there's the pub. It's over there. Over to my left, behind me. Oh, got my first rowing H to contend with. This is going to be fun. So this is coming down to Christchurch Meadow in Oxford, and on the left here we've got the college boat houses, and we've got some eights out on the river. Apparently somebody in a high-vis vest on the bridge back there just yelled at me that I've got 10 minutes to get through here. I guess there's some sort of boating event on here at the moment. There's a lot of people in the boat houses. I don't know where the end is or the start of this, but yeah, better crack on. 10 minutes to get wherever I need to get to in 10 minutes. Well, I've just been informed, I found out what that person in the yellow jacket was shouting at me. Apparently it's the Oxford bumps on at the moment. They've got a race coming up and I've got to pull over to the side. Interesting. So I'm going to go and pull over to the side here because they said non-towpath side, so I guess this is where I'm going to have to pull over.
Thank you very much, Blacktail.
How long is it going to take?
5 minutes back, 10 minutes.
How many boats coming by?
So there'll be about 13, and there'll be a launch like this one at the back. When that comes past, you're free to go.
Okay, thank you. Well, apparently I've got to stay here and wait until about 13 boats have come by with a launch like that one behind it. Oh well, let's see what goes on. And this is what I was waiting for. The Oxford May bumps. Okay, so what are the May bumps, or as they're known in Oxford, the summer H or H weeks? Well, basically it's a boat race up the River Thames, or the River Isis as they like to call it in Oxford, in which the boats start one behind the other, and the idea is that you catch the boat up in front. Why do they do it this way? Why don't they race sort of across the river? The reason they don't do it as a sort of standard side-by-side race is because the river isn't wide enough in Oxford to have standard racing. A similar event occurs over at Cambridge University. Okay, so after all the fun and excitement of the May bumps, I'm now approaching Isis Lock. Now, if I remember correctly, there's a really nice looking little bridge over here on the right, that if you go down under it in a narrowboat, you're going to have all kinds of problems, because it's a sort of a slide with rollers in it for skiffs and punts, if I remember correctly. And that's just down there underneath that arch that you can see coming up on the right there. So, as I recall it, very picturesque lock, this one. Oh, it looks like there's a boat moored up waiting to get in, so I need to concentrate now so I don't ram said boat. And at this point my camera's run out of battery. Right, that's the end of day 3. I've got some notes here because I'm losing track of things. So left Thrupp around 9 AM this morning and got to Jericho about 1:30 in the afternoon, moored up there. It's great going through Jericho, seeing some of my old haunts going along and sort of having a look at things. Moored up there for an hour, then headed off down the river where, as you saw, I got involved and tied up and caught up with the May bumps for Oxford University. That was a bit interesting, to say the least. I then continued down the river looking for moorings, and I ended up getting as far as Sandford Lock before I could get in anywhere. There was no sort of moorings north of Sandford Lock at all. I was sort of really stuck. I got here about 5 o'clock. So in total I covered about 11 miles in day 3. That was 8 locks in there over about 7 hours, so that gives me a speed of about 1.5 miles an hour. Now, according to the book tomorrow, I've got to go a lot faster than that, because the time plan that was printed out on canal plans says I've got 23 miles to do. So if it's going to take me, if I'm doing it 1.5 miles an hour, wow, that's just going to take me forever. So I really need to speed up on things. That's sort of, 8-9 hours travel. So as I say, I did 11 miles yesterday and 7 locks. So in total now I've covered 36 miles and done 25 locks, which means I've only done about 45% of the journey. And I've got about a day and a half, 2 days left to complete this journey. So it's taken me 3 days to do 45% of the journey. The good news is I've done 65% of the locks, so things should hopefully speed up a bit. Anyway, hopefully you found that interesting, entertaining, informative. If you did, don't forget to give it a big like, a big thumbs up, and also give it a hype, if you haven't done so already. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Now, on the screen you will see a QR code. If you scan that QR code, that'll take you through to a newsletter about my narrowboat, the Grey Wagtail. It's a free newsletter. I just email you whenever a new video comes out or I've got something noteworthy to say. So one maximum of 2 emails a week. I've only ever done 1 email a week so far on that. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.